A little about Howard Hughes. Jack FRYE didn't get along with TWA's prime stockholder, John D. Hertz. Yes, the same Hertz who is synonymous with Hertz Rent-A-Car and Yellow Cab Company. Jack and Howard had crossed paths in both of their aviation careers earlier, and Jack even flew a short stint in Howard's groundbreaking movie, Hell's Angels. Jack wasn't very interested in flying that way and bowed out early, but his partner, Paul Richter, flew stunts in the movie with regularity. So Jack paid a visit with his old acquaintance, Howard Hughes, and invited him to invest in the company. Howard accepted and bought out Hertz shares and became the prime stockholder with 51%. Howard paid for the Stratoliners in 1939 through the Hughes Tool Company. By now, the airline business competition is getting fierce, and Jack knew it. With the onset of rapid growth, he saw again the need for a larger, faster airliner way back in 1937, as he really wasn't happy with the Stratoliner. It was too slow and cumbersome. He really wanted a plane that would break all the records in speed and elevation and real comfort. An airliner for the world. He was looking international. I tell you, if Jack FRYE was still with us, he would have had passengers traveling to the moon and back before JFK made the mandate to go there. His vision and incredible leadership abilities could not be bridled. Jack and his engineering crew developed this new airliner on paper and sent it out for bid. They received a few prior proposals in 1938, but old man Hertz would not budge in making new investments in the company. So Jack's plans were delayed, that is, until Howard came on board in 1939. After endless phone calls with Howard for hours at a time, visit at Jack's ranch in Arizona, and many meetings working out the details on paper of the super ship, FRYE and Hughes approached Bob Gross, president of Lockheed. Gross called in Hall Hibbard and Clarence Kelly Johnson of his engineering team to look the concept over and come up with the design parameters. Lockheed had already been working on a large plane called the Excalibur and decided to revamp its plan form and specification with the conceptual ideas of FRYE and Hughes. This new plane secretly became known on paper as the L-049 Constellation. What is surprising is Lockheed at first didn't want to pressurize the fuselage like the Stratoliner, but TWA insisted on it. After Hibbard and his team got the whole plane designed with its sleek and shark-like fuselage and triple tail fins, they had a meeting with Hughes and FRYE to make the proposal. In a dark and empty office of Howard's at 7000 Romaine in Los Angeles on June 22, 1939, Gross, Johnson, Hughes, and FRYE met and agreed to build the planes at $450,000 apiece. TWA couldn't afford the 40-piece tab, so Howard agreed to pay for them through Hughes Tool Company. This was the largest airline contract to date, of which Hughes and FRYE had some specific requirements in the deal. Lockheed would give TWA exclusive rights to the first 40 planes off the assembly line. Lockheed agreed. They would also have to build the new aircraft in secret and incognito under another name. This was a strategy Hughes had in order to completely surprise the competition once the plane made its debut in a couple of years. They agreed, and all of the design drawings and correspondence were noted as such, and personnel were instructed the plane is called the O-49. They even went so far as to give each other code names. Hughes was God, and FRYE was Jesus Christ. Their company liaison, Johnny Guy, was named G. All mailed correspondence from Lockheed to Guy would have any evidence of Lockheed's name on the paperwork cut off the pages before they were sent to Hughes and FRYE. At one point, Johnny Guy was quoted as saying, It was like working for the CIA. Jack and Howard made frequent visits to the Lockheed plant in Burbank during its production, wearing disguises and assumed names. 11 months before December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Japanese, Jack married his third wife, Helen Vanderbilt. On December 24th, 1941, Jack FRYE signed one of the most important documents in airline history. It was called DAW 538 AC-1062. This, by direction of the U.S. government, authorized TWA to hire and train all personnel, procure necessary facilities, materials, and supplies, and to secure necessary certificates of convenience, of necessity, licenses, and permits essential to providing air service on a worldwide basis for the U.S. Army. This, I believe, is attributed to FRYE's vision again a year earlier in December of 1940, when he had meetings with General Hap Arnold and Assistant Secretary of War Robert Lovett, that when he told them if war came about, TWA Stratoliners would be available to the government. On the same day Jack signed the DAW 538 document, he established a new international carrier division of TWA, laying the foundation for his airline's future becoming an intercontinental carrier. Another FRYE first in aviation history. As a result of the agreement with the Army, the secret of the Constellation would soon be broken. The government would soon be inspecting all airline companies for their inventory of existing and new aircraft being acquired for consideration of use in the war effort. The first Constellation off the assembly line flew its maiden flight, Army-designated C-69, on January 9, 1943, from Lockheed Airport in Burbank. Then FRYE and Hughes had an idea that would rock the airline world and the public at large. The new planes were already purchased by the Army for the war effort. Planes were coming off the assembly line painted in Army drab and proper markings. The number 2 plane off the line, though, was flown to Las Vegas unpainted with its aluminum skins polished like a chrome bumper. FRYE had the TWA markings painted in red with the logo above the passenger windows reading, "The Transcontinental Airline." It was a stunning sight of promotion. FRYE and Hughes schemed to plan the plane that would soon have them flying from Burbank to Washington, D.C. in a record flight for publicity before handing it over to the Army. On April 17, 1944, FRYE and Hughes were co-captains aboard the Connie, with Howard Hughes at the controls the first half of the flight and Jack FRYE piloting the second half to the DCN terminal. The historic flight took only 6 hours and 58 minutes non-stop. When Jack landed and taxied the big new ship to the terminal, there was great fanfare. But the Army representatives weren't too happy to see it gleaming and rolling like a giant advertising billboard in TWA colors. After the initial shock of the generals subsided, everybody was happy, and the day was recorded as the most celebrated advance in aviation since the Wright brothers. Jack FRYE and Howard Hughes and crew would go down in history as changing airline travel forever with the Constellation. And that is surely what it did. Be sure to listen to Part 4 of the Jack FRYE video bibliography.